In an industry stuffed with marketing bullshit, empty promises, and shiny-suited liars, one woman's had enough. She knows what it's like to have the wrong clients, no money, and no time for fun. But she also knows how to fix it. And on the Business for Superheroes show, she promises to tell the down and dirty truth about business, sales, and running away with the circus. Here's your host, Vicky Fraser.
Hello and welcome to the Business for Superheroes show. I'm Vicky Fraser and this is Joe.
Hello.
Hello. This is a little bit weird because I am in Cork with a K, not Court. I am in Cork in Ireland right now, and Joe is at the Dingle in Herefordshire.
It's an experience.
Yeah, we've not done this before, have we?
No. The magic of Skype and all that.
Yeah, internets and stuff. It's cool.
Hopefully the internet will hold out. Normally we're not relying on it for the recording phase.
Yeah. Actually, I don't know. There was a thing that I was going to talk about tonight, and it was going to be the importance of doing your research, which I think I will mention because why the hell not? But also, I kind of wanted to talk about what I'm doing over here in Cork and why it's really, really cool. But I'll come to that in a minute because first of all, just in case the person in question is actually listening, I had an email last week, about a week ago actually, from somebody who I'm not going to name because, or from his assistant. And she said, I am writing on behalf of Mr. X, president of Company X. He has been listening to your podcast for some time now and would love the opportunity to brainstorm with your audience about their marketing strategies. For him, speaking is one of the easiest, simplest, and most rewarding ways to help entrepreneurs. His passion is to help people with their marketing efforts, and he has been lucky to serve many companies that range from small startups to multi-million-dollar industries. Moreover, he has the legitimate aptitude for helping small business owners thrive and create their own economy, no matter what their situation is. He'd like to bring the same knowledge and passion through your broadcast. In short, he'll strive to make your program the best and excite your listeners into making their business grow. We look forward to working with you, and he welcomes the opportunity to be interviewed on Business for Superheroes. Now, I've got a couple of problems with this.
Sorry.
And the first one is that, and whether or not this is true, the impression that I get from this email is that they've just kind of blanket emailed a whole bunch of podcasts that they've kind of picked up from iTunes or whatever, because there is nothing to suggest that he knows what I've said, who I am, who you are, because you're one half of this podcast, Joe. And there's nothing. That's what you said, wasn't it? You said that you thought it was a.
Yeah, I mean, he could have just scraped Amazon or iTunes or whatever for the 100 small business development podcasts and just hit him up with that letter. It didn't tell you anything about him really. It was very It was very we as well. It was like, I do this, I do this, I do that, I do the other, I do something else, and I.
And that was the second problem I had with it. Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, he could have sent that to anybody.
Yeah.
He's not building a relationship there, is he? He's just telling you stuff.
No, he's done no research, or if they have done any research and they really genuinely have been listening, they've given me no clue whatsoever. That was my first problem because it's not very flattering. And the second, because if I was going to. I'll come to that in a minute. But the second problem was that it's all about him, and there's nothing in there about what really is in it for me, to interview this person on my podcast. And you might be amazed. I did have a quick Google of him, and I don't really know who he was and blah blah blah. But I don't know what's in it for me, and he hasn't given me any indication that he knows anything about me at all. And so we kind of you and I, Joe, thought that we would talk this evening about the importance of, and this goes for not just pitching for podcasts or whatever, but also if you want to get a piece of PR into a magazine, or if you want to be interviewed by somebody on whatever, or if you're writing a job application letter, you need to do your research basically and make it clear that you know what they're about.
Absolutely. You've got to personalize stuff, haven't you?
Yeah. It could have been, I've just listened to your podcast last week on Donald Trump and what you can learn from him. And, I thought this point and this point were really, really cool. And I think that I could add something to your podcast by saying even just a couple of lines like that to show me that, and that might have been just that he looked at the transcript or the synopsis or whatever and had just pulled a couple of points out. But even so, that's more research than it looks like they've done on the face of it here.
Yeah. And that would have been enough to make you think, okay, well, let's maybe have a conversation.
Yeah. But what I've got in my inbox is just, I haven't replied to it yet, and I'm probably not going to be honest, because I'm really busy. And, you know, I've got legitimate people who are relying on me for stuff, and I've got my clients and blah, blah, blah. And to be honest, I'm putting the only thing that is in it for me so far is that it's giving me something to talk about on the podcast.
It's probably not what he had in mind.
It's probably not what he had in mind, no. But that's all he's getting right now, because I suspect I'm obviously not going to name him, because I think that's a bit mean, frankly. But even if I did, I'm not convinced that he listens to my podcast. So, you know, I'm not convinced that he'll ever hear this.
No, I don't think he will. Mm. I think he's surfing the edge of very nearly spam.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You said that, didn't you? You said it was spam. Yeah. I think that's a little bit unfair, but yeah, it's surfing the edge of spam, because it's not. I wouldn't consider it a spam, as I say, if he'd come back to me and mentioned a couple of podcasts, a couple of things that I'd talked about, maybe had an opinion on a couple of things that I talked about, even if he disagreed with me, because I like smart people who disagree with me. You know, that's a good thing. But there's no indication that he's, you know, listened or whatever.
And as a professional marketer, it's not a good piece of marketing.
It's not. It's really not a good piece of marketing. So yeah, I'm not generally impressed with the whole thing all around. So. Yeah, there you go, really. That's kind of what I was going to suggest, that we talked about that for the entire podcast, but frankly, I'm bored of that subject now. So
fair enough. So what should we talk about now?
Well, I don't know. This is going to be a bit of a mixed bag of rambling, really. I should probably point out that I've had a couple of glasses of wine. Which is fine.
I'm on my second beer.
Yeah, and also, Miss Vegard Viking Face has, when I suggested that we might not do a podcast this week because I'm in Ireland, because Vegard is here as well, and I should point out that Vegard and I are not on holiday together or anything. I'm here with my mentoring group, and he's in the mentoring group that I'm in. But when I suggested that we wouldn't be doing a podcast tonight, he was like, "Oh, what? I walked my dog and I listened to your podcast, and you know, I really look forward to hearing Joe's voice. I think it's you who really likes Joe."
Well, I love him too.
I know you do. It's a little bromance. So, but yeah, I just thought possibly we could talk a little bit about why I'm here, really, and why it's such a good thing, and how amazing it's been for me and my business.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So every 3 months I come over to Ireland to be part of a mastermind group with a group of other business owners, and they all do all sorts of things. So I think I am the only copywriter in the group, but there's people who do all sorts of things. Like there's, you know, dental technicians, there's a surgeon, there's software people, there's pay-per-click people, there's
amazing internet company based in wherever Vegard comes from.
Oh, Norway. Yeah. Norway. I mean, people come all the way from, Vegard comes all the way from Norway. Someone comes all the way from Qatar. Mark comes all the way from the Philippines. And that's not a short trip.
That is not a short trip. Is Mark there on this one?
He is, but he's not getting here for a few days.
Okay.
So Mark's my buddy. And that's another thing that comes up. But the reason I'm part of this group is because basically you can't run a business on your own, I don't think. It's kind of a very lonely job, and I'm very lucky because you get quite involved in my business.
Yes, I do.
And you're interested in it, and you're very, very supportive. But I think that's quite rare. I think a lot of people find it quite difficult with their other halves, because they just don't really get it, which is understandable, because, you know, running your own business is, I don't know, it's a weird thing. It's a weird thing. But you're not accountable to colleagues. You don't have a boss. The only person you're really accountable to is yourself, and there's very little support, and there's an awful lot of bullshit out there, which is why I do this podcast, because there's an awful lot of bullshit out there, and I'm against that, down with that sort of thing.
Down with bullshit.
Yeah, but you know, there's a lot of get rich quick schemes, and people, it just bugs me. It's difficult to run a business. So yeah, the amazing guys at Podfly I've just spliced together the two calls that we've had to make, because the Wi-Fi here is just shite, basically. So we were talking about how there's an awful lot of bullshit around, and it's difficult to run a business on your own. And so what I've done is join a mentoring group, a mastermind group. A little bit like the inner circle that I run, but at a higher end. It's, for one thing, it's a lot more expensive, but for another, we meet up 4 times a year, And we basically, I don't like the word brainstorm because it's a bit wanky, but you go in and you have your hot seat and you talk about a problem, and then you often find that isn't your problem, and it's all a bit, it's a bit useful. But I mean, you've been, haven't you, Joe? What did you think of it?
I thought it was really good. I enjoyed meeting people. Hello, people, if you're listening, particularly Regard. I miss your cuddles. But yeah, it was nice to see a supportive group of people, all of whom were interested in each other. And most of the businesses, I got the impression, were sort of one-man bands, or very small at least. And the person in the group was the person who made the decisions. It was their business. They had all the power.
Yes.
So they would come and sit down and say, I think my next 12 months look like this. I'm going to plan to do this, this, and this. And then a group of other sensible business owners who were in the room would look at you and kind of say, well, are you sure? That sounds ridiculous. Or, yes, that's a good idea. I'd buy that. Or, that seems that's priced optimistically, or whatever. Or maybe you need to do this and this first and work out some things. And it was good because it was just a sensible, business-minded sounding board for people to get good advice.
Yeah, it is. It's awesome. And we've become really, really good friends as well. And it's a really cool thing. And it's made me want to, because it's such a small group, it's not something that's easy to grow, because you can only do, this is a time for money thing, and that, back to that kind of thing again. But this is something that I would quite like to do eventually. And there's something is going to happen. There is going to be an event in October that is going to happen. And if this is the kind of, if that kind of group is something that interests you, then keep an ear out on the podcast and keep an eye out on my emails and in your post box and whatnot, because I'm going to be talking about that quite a lot in the future. But I specifically kind of wanted to talk about my experience there this month, because I think it's something that is going to resonate with a lot of people, particularly women business owners. And not to say that it doesn't happen with men as well, because actually there was a lad here this time round who was the son of one of my fellow group members, and he's very like me. Actually, he suffers from massive self-confidence issues, and that's the one thing that came out of my hot seat this time round. That I kind of sat down and I was like, I don't really know what I want to do with my life, and I don't know what I want to do when I grow up. And I actually said those words, and I was kind of being serious about it, because I don't feel like a grown up at all, and I don't think anybody really does, from talking to people who I consider to be actual grown-ups. I don't think anyone ever does. But one of the things that came out of my hot seat was that actually I've got really massive self-confidence issues. And talking to other female business owners, and some of the ones in my inner circle and some of the people on my email list, I get quite a lot of responses whenever I talk about this to say, that's exactly how I feel too. And, this is really difficult. And I don't think from the outside that people see this, do they, Joe?
No, because you go around making decisions and doing stuff and smashing into work and generating content and helping clients and starting projects and writing books and doing stuff. Yeah.
And, the whole time you can actually feel rather like a fraud. And there is a word, there's a name for this. It's called imposter syndrome. It's a lot of people suffer from it. And and a lot of people who are successful suffer from it. And it's generally people who have no reason to suffer from it who suffer from it, which is just a real strong illustration of how ridiculous brains are, really. But it is, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I kind of wanted to talk about it a little bit on the podcast because I don't think people talk about it enough. There's an awful lot of marketing and business kind of leaders and gurus and people who put on a front and make out like everything is amazing and that they've got all the answers and that everything's wonderful. And actually, I mean, some of them might do. I don't know. There's quite a lot of sociopathic people out there. I don't know, but I kind of wanted to talk to the people who are a bit more like me, who are awesome at what they do, but don't quite believe it. Because on an intellectual level, I know I'm really good at what I do because people tell me that I am, and people that I trust tell me that I am. And, I get paid the big bucks for what I do, and that's all very good. But there's always a part of me that just thinks, I'm going to get found out. They're going to realise.
Like you say, I think that's really common. I sometimes find myself sitting in a meeting and I'm dealing with multinationals, the European leaders of multinational companies, making decisions and steering their thoughts and all that kind of stuff. And every now and again, you just kind of this little moment of clarity where you think, Jesus, why is everybody listening to me?
Yeah.
I'm gonna write this down. I'm gonna give you a quote, and you're only gonna go and buy it. It's frightening.
But then, the thing is, though, you are an expert in what you do, Joe. You and your company are awesome at what you do. You're the best in the world at what you do.
I would like to think so.
I think you are. I mean, I'm possibly slightly biased, but
might be a little bit biased, but we're not bad.
But and that is what you've just described, Joe, is compounded, exponentially when you run your own business, because in the end, the buck doesn't stop with you in your business, because it's not your business.
Yeah, for sure.
Yet. But my business is my business, and it's difficult because when you're on your own, it's difficult to kind of you think that you're on your own and you're the only person feeling this, which is why I think it's so important to have a group of people that you can talk to about this stuff in a safe space, not the kind of safe space that these bloody college students want, where you're not allowed to upset anybody, but a space where it's okay to say this kind of thing with people that understand, because they've been there and they're living it. And even the big tough people, or the people who like to make out that they're big and tough, they have their insecure moments, and it doesn't mean that you're not capable of doing what you do, and it doesn't mean that you're not an expert at what you do, and it doesn't mean that you're not amazing at what you do. It just means that sometimes your brain is an idiot and it tries to sabotage you.
Yeah, your brain is a dick.
Yeah, my brain is particularly a dick for many, many reasons. But shall I tell you one of the things that's been bothering me this week? And it's so stupid, but actually it isn't stupid, because as my friend Yinka, who is amazing in every way.
Hello, Yinka.
Hi Yinka, pointed out, it's not stupid. But one of the things that has been really bothering me is my hair. I hate my hair. I really hate my hair. And you're laughing, Joe, but how many times do I moan about my hair? It's quite a lot, isn't it?
It's quite a lot.
Yeah. And I know that you kind of look at me and think that's ridiculous, but you're biased. So, but it really bothers me, and it knocks my confidence. And and then I kind of think to myself, you know what? This is really shallow and insignificant, and I'm an idiot for kind of feeling this way. But I was talking to Yinka about this, and she pointed out that it's not stupid and it's not shallow, because actually the way we look and the way we feel about the way we look informs an awful lot of how we feel and behave and act, and how confident we are. And so I've spent all of these years kind of thinking, I'm not going to spend money on my hair because it always looks like a dick. Not literally, because that would be weird. And it's not worth it, and I'm not worth spending that money all the time on my hair or anything. And actually, I think I've just come to the conclusion that that's ridiculous, because I should, if it's bothering me that much, I should fix it.
Yeah, just do it. Sort it out.
Yeah, and I tell people this, and so because my hair's very fine, and this is turning into a little bit of a hairdressing podcast now. But
improve your business by sorting out your hair.
But that's
this week's advice.
That is going to be the title of this podcast: is improve your business by sorting out your hair, because that's a great headline, Joe. Well done, and that will draw people in. But in all seriousness, if I'm not confident enough to get in front of a camera and record a video because I don't like the way my hair looks, then that is having a negative impact on my business. And I know I've spoken to other women who are deeply uncomfortable with having their photographs taken, who won't step in front of a video camera, and certainly wouldn't get on a stage at an event because they don't like the way they look. And, in every case that I know, that's completely unfounded. Every case, because, I don't know any unattractive people, really. It's, everybody is attractive in their own way, and everybody is, I'm getting a little bit, huggy-feely here, but it's true. And so, if something's bothering you about your appearance, don't think that it's, and this goes for men as well, because I know that men get insecure about this kind of thing as well. It's just that they don't talk about it. If it's bothering you, fix it. If it costs money, doesn't matter, fix it. And the fact that I haven't been making videos and I've not been doing as many events and things as I could have been doing because of that is ridiculous. And so I'm now thinking, well, you know what I've always wanted to do is have hair extensions, because my hair is very fine and I can't do anything with it. Hair extensions are really expensive. Do not anyone tell Joe how expensive they are. But I was kind of...
If anybody wants to email me that, let me know.
I'm going to tell you how expensive they are, really. But the point is, it's a small investment for what could be quite a large return if it makes me comfortable in front of a camera and on a stage.
Yeah.
And so I should just get on with it and do it, really.
You should.
I should.
You should.
Yeah.
Should I? I need a haircut as well. I meant to do that this afternoon because I got out of work a little bit early. I should have got a haircut.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Because you're looking like a microphone.
I do. I developed like a crazy wafro.
So yeah, that was a little bit of a rambly podcast, I guess. I don't know. That was a bit weird, but I think it was quite important because, and we'll come back to this again at another date, and structure it slightly better because I think it's something that bothers people a lot, and I don't think it's something that's talked about enough. And I'll probably talk about it in the context of a book I'm reading at the moment by Brené Brown, because she talks a lot about vulnerability and putting yourself out there, and we're very bad at doing that as a species and as a modern society.
And hang on, I'm being reminded of that quote. It wasn't the very wise Rob Lowe, was it?
Oh, never compare your insides to other people's outsides.
Yeah, you have particular insights to what's going on inside your own head.
Yeah, but
you just don't get that level of information on what's going on other people's heads.
No.
So just be aware that when what you're looking at is just the shell, just the outward shell of other people. Yeah,
which is why I think I wanted to talk about this in this podcast, because I'm very aware that I'm, just as guilty, or not guilty, but I'm just as culpable. That's the same word, but a different word. I'm just as susceptible is the word that I was struggling for and failing to grasp. I'm just as susceptible to this stuff as everybody else. And I'm quite aware that, you want to be seen as somebody who's very together and all the rest of it. And a lot of the time I am. But I wanted also to show and to, say that actually quite a lot of the time my brain is a mess. And yes, I'm very good at what I do. And yes, I'm very dedicated. But a lot of the time inside, I'm kind of, banging my head against the wall because that's the way brains work. It really is. And I think that's important to say and important to put out there.
Excellent.
On that note, I'm going to go back down to the bar.
Talk to all these fine people.
Talk to all these fine people who are here. So yeah, it's been a bit rambly, but I think it's been a good one. And we're going to come back to this again when I've collected my thoughts a bit more and I'm not in a different country. And we'll talk about it a bit more. But in the meantime, I don't know, what should my call to action be?
Get a haircut.
Get a haircut. Maybe, if your hair needs cutting. Or, the equivalent of whatever is bothering you.
Yeah. Buy a nice suit.
Give yourself permission to sort it out. You are worth it.
Yes. Don't just see that as frivolous expenditure on personal stuff when you've got bills to pay. Consider it personal marketing, self-actualization and all that nonsense.
That was really wanky. Personal development is better.
Personal development, yeah, okay.
Yeah, self-confidence building.
Yes. Making yourself feel more prepared to get stuck in and get out there.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks for listening. Joe, Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
I will see you tomorrow.
Yay.
And everybody else, thank you, dear listeners, for listening. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please go to iTunes or Stitcher Radio and leave us a review. We would really appreciate it because it will help us go up in the rankings.
And all your friends.
And tell all your friends. And we will see you same time next week.
Excellent.
Ta-ta.
Bye. Like what you've just heard? Tell your colleagues, tell your friends, send them to www.businessforsuperheroes.com/podcast.